Beloved, this is more than a reminder. It's a divine confirmation. You've walked through deep battles, not by accident, but because of the purpose on your life. The attacks weren't random. They came because of the light within you, the calling you carry. The enemy recognized your anointing and tried to stop what God is building in you, but you were chosen, set apart, and no darkness can cancel what heaven has ordained. Here's the powerful truth. What was sent to break you bowed before the power of God within you. The attack was real, but so was your divine protection. What came to destroy you was stopped by the authority you carry. This is your story. Let's walk through 7 powerful chapters that reveal just how chosen and covered you truly are. But before we begin, pause and share this, because it's for those marked by God, targeted by darkness, yet rising strong, untouched, and divinely defended. If this message resonates deep in your spirit, type 77 in the comments. It's more than a number. It's a prophetic sign that what was meant to destroy you has now bowed to the power of God within you. Only the truly chosen will stay to the end, and in doing so, receive the clarity, strength, and revelation they've been waiting for. Each time you return, more of your God-given strength will rise. What once chased you will now retreat. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Why the target was set. From the start, your life was never ordinary. There was something about you that disrupted the atmosphere, something set apart. Even as a child, you felt tensions others didn't notice and saw things others couldn't see. You were spiritually aware long before you had the words for it. You stood out, asked the hard questions, and loved deeply, but instead of being celebrated, you were often rejected or envied, not because of what you did, but because of who you are. Your very presence challenged the comfort of those still asleep, and your sensitivity was misunderstood as weakness. Your wisdom was misinterpreted as arrogance, but it was always God's calling on your life. Beneath all the misunderstanding lies a powerful truth. You were marked by God long before the enemy took notice. You weren't meant to blend in. You were born to break cycles. You carry a divine purpose, a generational calling passed down to you. You don't just have gifts, you have a mission. You don't just endure hardship, you turn it into a catalyst for transformation. That kind of power shakes the very foundations of darkness. The attack on your life wasn't accidental, it was intentional. The moment you chose healing over bitterness, forgiveness over revenge, and truth over comfort, you became a force in the spiritual realm. It wasn't your perfection that shook the enemy, it was your surrender. When you align with God's will, you become a vessel for the miraculous. What darkness fears most is not strength or ambition, but quiet obedience, a heart that listens and follows, even through the pain. That's why the warfare intensified, not because you were losing, but because you were waking up to who you truly are. You were breaking cycles, shedding false labels, and stepping into your God-given authority. The enemy took notice. The betrayals, the tears, the silence. It wasn't punishment, it was preparation. God was refining you in private for the battles ahead. The attack wasn't about your past, it was about your future. The enemy came for you early because he saw who you'd become. A chain breaker, a light bearer, a voice in dark places. Your purpose was known in hell before you fully embraced it in heaven. Now, you've survived what was meant to destroy you, and the tables have turned. You're no longer uncertain, you're empowered. No longer doubting, you're walking boldly in your worth. The fire, meant to consume you, now fuels your calling. You walked through storms and fire, but you weren't destroyed. You were refined. Every wound, every betrayal had purpose. Chapter 2. The weapon was personal. The attack wasn't random. It was targeted and close. It came through familiar faces, trusted voices, and buried pain. Darkness doesn't strike blindly. It studies you, your fears, your patterns, your silent battles. But even the most personal attacks can't stop a life protected by God. The attack wasn't just to hurt you. It was meant to break your identity, to make you doubt your worth and question your calling. That's why the betrayal cut so deep. It came from someone you trusted without hesitation. That's why the delays felt crushing. They hit when hope was rising. You weren't just facing situations. You were battling old wounds and unseen triggers. But even in the struggle, God never let go. The weapon formed against you was precise, because the enemy knew your strength. A random storm wouldn't shake you, but one that hit your heart and stirred old wounds just might. And for a moment, it almost did. People changed, doors closed, and your safe spaces turned into battlegrounds. Doubt got loud, and your heart grew weary. But here's the miracle. While life was trying to break you, your spirit kept rising. Stripped bare, yet unshaken, something within you refused to give up. That was God. You wept, but you didn't break. You felt alone, but never forsaken. Your prayers became whispers, but your faith roared louder. In the silence and pain, you began to hear God more clearly. The fire didn't destroy you, it refined you. The pressure didn't crush you, it revealed you. Every betrayal brought wisdom. Every delay built patience. And every closed door redirected you toward purpose. What was meant to tear you down only awakened the true you. Because the chosen aren't broken by pressure. They're made into diamonds through it. Even when your hands were empty, your spirit was being filled. They thought breaking your surroundings would break you. But your strength was never in what you had. Your peace wasn't in people. Your worth not in titles. And your hope not in circumstances. You were anchored in something eternal. The weapon formed and hit hard, but it didn't win. What was meant to destroy you only awakened you. What was sent to end you launched you into purpose. Chapter 3. The attack came close. There was a moment when everything felt heavier. Time slowed, joy dimmed, and a shadow you couldn't explain settled over your life. It wasn't just stress, it was spiritual warfare. For some, it came through deep sadness or unshakable fear. For others, through close calls, health scares, or overwhelming fatigue. It was an unseen force sent to break you, not loud, but subtle, moving through pain, patterns, and people. It whispered lies in the silence, hoping you'd give up. But God kept you, even when no one else saw the battle. It crept in quietly, attacking your thoughts, your identity, your purpose. It echoed lies you'd buried, stirred fears you thought were gone. You were close to breakthrough, and the enemy knew it. So he tried to stop you before you crossed over. This wasn't just pressure, it was spiritual assassination. You nearly gave up, doubted your calling, shrank your light, but in your darkest moment, something holy rose within you. Not loud, but steady. God's voice anchored you, because as darkness approached, it ran into divine resistance. The enemy underestimated the power of God within you. They didn't expect you to be so spiritually covered. They didn't see your praise rising through pain, or your prayers holding steady in silence. But your spirit was fortified, surrounded, and filled by God Himself. You weren't just protected, you were His dwelling place. Your presence carried His presence. And when darkness came near, It collided with holy fire. It wasn't luck that saved you. It was divine power within you. Even when you felt weak, God's authority carried you. The enemy came to destroy the weary, wounded version of you. But that version died, and in its place, the anointed, refined, and risen, you emerged. You weren't just spared, you were resurrected with purpose. The attack came close, but your destiny came closer. When you belong to God, even near-death moments become divine turning points. What tried to break you became proof of the eternal fire that lives in you. You weren't spared by chance. God's hand was on you. What you endured was meant to crush you, but it couldn't. Why? Because the anointing on your life is greater than any attack. You're still here because God has a purpose for you. What He anoints, He covers, not from every fire, but from being consumed by it. You were never meant to be destroyed. You were chosen, protected, and preserved for greater. The enemy tried to erase you because you are a force of light. Your presence changes the atmosphere, your healing uplifts others, and your very life contradicts everything the enemy hoped for you. The pressure you faced intensified because you began to walk in your truth and break generational cycles. You became a threat, not because of your own strength, but because of the power God placed in you. What darkness didn't foresee was that nothing could stop your rise. Your anointing runs deep, not based on outward appearances or success, but forged through trials, rejection, loneliness, and unwavering obedience. It was shaped in your wilderness and grew in your hidden seasons. So when the enemy came for your identity, the anointing stood firm, saying, "Not this one." When darkness tried to cloud your mind, the anointing shielded you. When falsehoods arose, the anointing spoke truth, silencing every lie. When you had nothing, no resources, no strength, no plan, God's anointing kept you. It's more than just oil. It's proof that God marked you from the beginning. You were never meant to blend in because you were chosen to stand out. Chosen ones don't live easy lives. They live anointed ones. And that anointing makes you a threat to fear, mediocrity, and every chain that once bound your family. Every trial was a setup for your growth. Every pain, a redirection. What the enemy intended to destroy you, God used to reveal you. You are not who you once were. You've been transformed. You've been transformed. What's ahead isn't just surviving, it's stepping into activation. Higher levels, greater clarity, and divine authority. You're not just protected, you're positioned. If you've ever felt under attack, remember, it's because the enemy saw the glory of God on your life. No matter how close the enemy came, it couldn't touch what God sealed. You are too chosen, too covered, too anointed. Chapter 5. The Silent Shift. After the battle comes a quiet. The pressure lifts, the attacks stop, and stillness fills the air. But this silence isn't peace. It's preparation. It's the moment when everything shifts in the spirit, even though you can't see it yet. Be still, because the next chapter is about to unfold. You may feel the weight lift as the noise fades, but don't be deceived. Just because the battle seems quiet doesn't mean it's over. The enemy shifts his tactics, but God's strength remains. Don't stop praying, don't stop seeking. This is the time to stay vigilant, for the battle is evolving, but God's victory is already assured. Keep your guard up and trust in His guidance. After the enemy's attacks couldn't break you, He waits in silence, watching, studying your every move. But don't fear the stillness. It's in this space that God is refining you. Your discernment sharpens, your spirit strengthens, and you begin to see things clearly. The environments that once felt comfortable now disturb you because you've outgrown them. The silence is God's way of aligning you for greater purpose, preparing you for divine separations that lead you closer to His plan. Embrace the transformation, for it is here that your true strength rises. Your elevation reveals the misalignments, but it's not God being harsh, it's His clarity. You prayed for purpose, and now He's removing distractions. With each layer stripped away, you're no longer the same. You've become more alert, refined, and focused. You no longer seek approval or engage in trivial matters. You walk in revelation. The silence is now your sacred space, where God imparts strategies and new visions, where old identities fade, and where your authority grows, not from noise, but from the strength within. You're no longer reacting. You're commanding, standing firm in your purpose. You've taken up the sword, and this is why the silence terrifies darkness. You're not just surviving, you're operating in purpose. You're no longer on defense. You're on divine assignment, hearing directly from heaven. The enemy bowed not out of surrender, but because it recognized what it couldn't defeat. The battle isn't over, it's shifted. You are no longer the prey, but the one who hunts. No longer a victim of the storm, you've become the storm. You are a storm wrapped in discipline, stillness, and spiritual clarity. Now when you move, it's with heaven's full support. Don't fear the silence, embrace it. The quiet around you is the sound of divine power strengthening within you, preparing you for your purpose and dominion. Chapter 6. What the enemy now knows about you. Something has changed, not just in you, but in how the enemy sees you. You're no longer overlooked. You're recognized in the spirit realm. Darkness now knows you're marked by God, not easily shaken, not easily fooled. You've endured betrayal, pain, and warfare, and instead of breaking, you rose. You're no longer naive. You're wise, refined, and walking in true authority. You don't glow with ego. You shine with God-given power. Real power is forged in silence, in pain, in hidden places. It's the kind hell doesn't forget. You were hunted, but you didn't just survive, you rose. Not because life got easier, but because wisdom grew in you. What was meant to crush you became your crowning moment. And that crown, it's not gold, it's glory, it's spiritual authority. You carry a mantle now, even if you can't always feel it. Others can. Darkness remembers the last time it tried and failed. It remembers who covered you when you had no strength left. Your presence now carries power, history, and heaven's backing. They remember the God who defended you. You've become a divine warning to darkness. Touch not my anointed. That's why the atmosphere shifts when you enter a room. It's not intimidation, it's spiritual recognition. You don't speak loudly, but your presence speaks volumes. You don't confront, yet hidden things are exposed. You carry the weight of battles won in silence. The enemy hasn't stopped. He just can't reach you the same. You've ascended. You move in purpose, divine wisdom, and heaven's protection. You're no longer a victim. You're a force. Your presence disrupts lies, exposes falsehoods, and unsettles darkness. You don't chase noise or settle for anything that lacks peace. What once tempted you no longer moves you. You've chosen truth over illusion, even if it means walking alone. You've grown, spiritually, emotionally, and mentally, and that growth intimidates the enemy. You're not easily broken, not easily read, and no longer open to every spirit. You're protected, not by walls, but by wisdom. Chapter 7. Living after divine protection. Chosen one, you've stepped into a new season, not of striving, but of standing. You no longer need to prove yourself or defend your calling. That chapter is closed. Now your purpose is to live in alignment, protect your peace, and walk with the authority God gave you. Your royalty, marked not by pain, but by purpose. Your scars speak of survival, not shame. You're no longer a target, you're a testimony. You've been refined, and now, when you speak, things shift. When you pray, chains break. You don't move in pride, you move in divine alignment. You're not hidden anymore. You're walking in glory. You are activated, fully seen, fully aware, fully anointed. The old you would dim your light for others' comfort, but not anymore. Now you know your light is a signal, a guide for those aligned with you, and a warning to those with wrong intentions. The forces that once tried to destroy you now retreat, silenced by the power they couldn't defeat. They watched you at your lowest, waiting for you to break, but you rose, not by force, but by surrender. You trusted God, aligned with His will, and stepped into who you were, always destined to be.